Welcome to the 14th edition of the Thursday Night Tailgate. Boy, hard to believe it's 14 weeks in. Think about it. When we started this 14 weeks ago, Coach Davis, you were 3 months away from getting married. We're a few days away now.
Couple days.
I only had one kid. Coach Magano was not an award-winning co-host of FNF.
Lots of things
You
have
guys
changed.
saw that, huh?
Crazy,
Nice.
crazy. Yes, we did see that. Congratulations
Oh,
on that
thank you.
award. I hear there's a lot of nominees for that award, the guest host of the year.
Yeah, I took a picture of it when I was on television. I'm thinking of making my Facebook profile picture. I don't know if that's a little, self-indulgent, but, ride away whenever you have it, right?
Hey, go for it. Go for it. But thanks again for joining us. And boy, we're excited to be back here in order to recap last week's game of Schuylkill Haven and Bristol and also take a look at their matchup next week. First off, before we even get started, congratulations to Haven. Boy, exciting time up in Schuylkill Haven, huh?
Yeah, and this is one of those things a couple years ago we were kind of missing from Schuylkill Haven. They went through their downtime here, but man, they are right back, and hey, they're making a heck of a run right now, and the entire AFL behind them.
I was kind of thinking that with Schuylkill Haven. I was looking at the brackets, the statewide brackets, and you see a lot of the same names. Southern Columbia, Stowe Rocks, you see Steelton High Spire, Clareton, obviously, and I bet you people around the state, they see Schuylkill Haven as like a thing. Because they were down the last couple of years, but let's face it, Schuylkill Haven's in this mix more times than they're not. And I think that's probably a name that sticks out with a lot of people around the state whenever they talk about great programs.
And it's very impressive. Not just in football, but across the board. Schuylkill Haven really gets it done. And congratulations to Haven, and we're all on board. Wishing you guys the best of luck. Let's take a look at their game this week versus Bristol. Schuylkill Haven moves their record to 10-3 with a huge win over Bristol. They come out on top, 56-27. Tight game in the beginning. And Schuylkill Haven really pulled away in the second half, outscoring them 21-6 in the second half.
Yeah, 56-27, and man, if you do the math, that's 4 touchdowns.
Who predicted that?
I kind of feel bad. I hope that nobody didn't go to the game or listen to it on the radio because they already knew it was going to happen. But on this show last week, and I forget who it was, ideas were flying fast and furious last week, but somebody said, mark it down, Haven will win by 4 touchdowns, and that's what they did. And they did it with a grinded-out style. Over 600 yards rushing. 600, that's unfathomable. It's like a great rushing game is when you get 350 to 400 yards. 605 yards rushing.
In a state playoff game.
Yeah.
This isn't week 4 against a weaker non-league opponent or one of the weaker teams in a league. This is a state playoff.
That's a great point.
It's unbelievable.
Exactly. 27 first downs, in one game. And my God, that's just, very, very impressive. And the guy that stands out in that is Will Casella with Zach Barquette-like numbers, another Schuylkill Haven alumni there. 42 carries. Last week I told you 2 great quotes in the paper. And speaking of the paper, I want to give a little shout out to the Pottsville Republican, to the Republican Herald now. We've mentioned the Times News a couple times this year, but we got a lot of information from the Republican Herald this year. But I love Coach Farr's quote in the paper. 42 times. He said, I didn't realize we gave it to him that much. That's almost like child abuse. But 42 times.
I'm sure he didn't mind. I'm sure Casella didn't mind.
Yep. But 42 times for 334 yards, 6 touchdowns. 5 of them were 5 yards or less. The longest one was a 30-yarder, but they were all like 1 yard, 4 yard, just plunging, getting behind that great line and getting into the end zone. On the season right now, 2,159 yards for 34 TDs. Schuylkill Haven history, he's joining some elite company here. Zach Barquette twice went over 2,000 yards. Buddy Fagley back in 1998 went over 2,000 yards. And a guy I remember, Jason Killian, they won the state title.
How could you forget?
Oh, yeah. I remember Panther Valley, that game that year, we dominated them, first downs, yardage, so on and so forth. They beat us 21-7 because Killian, 95-yard touchdown, 80-yard touchdown, and just the best player in the state that year. And Will Casella's in that company now, which is pretty impressive. But and not only that, he did all this. He was sick before the game. He was throwing up right before the game. He thought he would have an average game of like 150 yards or something like that, I think he said. But just a great game. And poor Ryan Fink.
Yeah, there's not many games where if you rush 18 times for 222 yards, that like people are like, what's the big deal? But yeah, Fink, I mean, what a game. They are a completely different team since he came back, you know, and reading the articles in the paper, and like you said, the Republican does an awesome job.
Yep.
You know, they were talking about him when he got hurt. He thought his season was done, and to see him back out there and to see Haven where everyone thought they would be and the type of team they thought they would be, it's great to see. And all of these stats wouldn't be anything without the linemen and the tight ends. And the two tight ends, Mike Ferriel, Alec Bailey. And then the linemen, Nate Kramer, Kyle Wingle, Brandon Noss, Jack Howard, and Kenny Harrod. Just an awesome, awesome game. And, you know, I listened to that game on the radio while I watched the Old Forge and Southern Columbia game on TV. And you just hear the game, and they were referring to it as a just complete shootout. And I'm thinking, they're going to wear them down. And that's exactly what happened. They wore them down, and we talked about it before we got on film here. The jungle's paying off.
Yep.
You know, all that time they put in, when it gets middle of the third quarter, you know, Coach Farr said, he goes, we got kids going both ways that are coming off the field, and they're not even breathing heavy. You know? And that's a testament to all the work they put in, and that's why they did this. They knew they wanted to be here, and they are practicing on Thanksgiving.
They won a lot of games in the off season with the work they put in.
They really did.
And you know, you talked about Zach Barquette numbers. I mean, how many times did we hear him back in the day getting 38 carries, 41 carries, and you know, in addition to Casella, though, Fink, you know, putting up those kinds of numbers. If we were still doing our performers of the week, my hardcore performers would certainly be the line of Schuylkill Haven. I mean, that is just so impressive to put up those kind of yards in a state playoff game. You just don't see it.
My performance for the week would probably be Schuylkill Haven's second half defense. First half, they kind of struggle a little bit, and hey, that's what halftime's for.
Great adjustments.
And you have a coaching staff that makes adjustments, and the kids believe in it. You go in, you make some adjustments, and they came out in the second half to give up 6 points to a very explosive team. I mean, everything that I've read about and the radio talked about and Coach Farr talked about, this Simmons kid is a junior. It completely sounds like he is a D1 athlete, and it sounded like it on the radio.
And now you look at Haven's senior class. Let's take a look at the Haven senior class, and this is a testament to you guys out there at Schuylkill Haven that are seniors. We're talking about Fink and Casella, and boy, the guys are studs, and it's scary to think that they're juniors. Downright scary. But for Haven seniors, and hopefully if there's anyone else from the AFL still watching, even though your seasons are done, Schuylkill Haven, these seniors, F sophomores, 2-8. And let's face it, we all know what expectations are at Haven.
Yep.
And 2-8 season, they were probably hearing some chirping.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure people weren't happy.
Get rid of Coach Farr. Get rid of him. You know
all that nonsense. You know. So they're 2-8 as sophomores, 7-5 last year as juniors.
Eastern Conference champs.
Eastern Conference champs, 7-5. Right now, 10-3.
Yep.
State semifinalists, district champs. So for Haven seniors, the biggest congratulations we could give you. That's awesome. Absolutely
that doesn't
awesome.
happen by accident. That's hard work.
And for anyone else in the AFL or anyone else watching, especially you younger guys, it can be done. It's a lot of work in the offseason. We mentioned in the jungle. Mentioned it's hard work. Yeah. It's you know, great leadership as well, obviously, by the captains and the leaders of the team and Coach Farr and his staff. But boy, it's just getting it done in the off season in the weight room and getting that taken care of. Congrats to Haven. It's just fantastic. It really is.
It is. I echo everything there. But speaking of the jungle, we just want to say we got an invite to go up to the jungle this week, and we really appreciate that invite. Our lives have become a little hectic the last couple of weeks.
A little bit.
As we know, Coach Davis is getting married. Ladies out there, take a long, hard look at him. Another one that got away as of Friday.
Another one bites the dust.
Coach Clancy, head basketball coach at PV, he's a busy guy, and so we haven't had that opportunity.
Don't shortchange yourself. You're guest hosting. You're Mr. FNF now, so don't shortchange yourself.
I don't want to bring that up.
You're busy too.
I know there was some resentment about that a little bit, a couple weeks ago, so I didn't want to bring it up. But yeah, I guess that's part of it. But yeah, so we're staying close to home. In fact, this is about as close to home as it gets. We're in my basement right now, my basement bar, and
you know what the cool thing is though? This is week 14, and this is the first time we're in your basement. We've been invited to all these different places throughout the season. It's awesome.
Yeah,
we were at Jim Thorpe, we were in Monoy, we were in Haven.
Rich Dianchi actually invited us to his bike shop in Tamako this week, but it's just a busy week with Thanksgiving coming up and a wedding. So we'll probably be on the road next week. But thanks again to the Jungle for extending the invite.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would have loved to have been there. But anyway, Haven gets it done against Bristol and moves on. And it's something, let's face it, we all kind of expected that. Maybe me and you were spot on with our predictions as Coach McGarda was. But let's face it, he's had his mojo going since that F&F stint. But as he predicted, they win by 4 touchdowns.
Since he predicted
Tamako
that Tamako was going to win the league, and that was terrible. He's been pretty good since.
He's even himself out.
Not everybody
Once
has
he
a great
put the
first
jersey
week.
on, he's been all right.
He's got his mojo back.
Yeah.
All right, we move on.
All right, moving on. This week.
Hey, hang on. Before we get to this week, we're talking about some alumni from some schools.
Let's hit it.
Frank Gaffney, Blue Mountain graduate, Lebanon Valley College junior, was named this week the Defensive Player of the Year in the MAC, the Middle Atlantic Conference. So congratulations to him. Evan Fink, older brother of Ryan Fink. He's a senior at Lebanon Valley and Schuylkill Haven graduate, obviously, named first team All-MAC fullback. And I got a Moravian shirt on this week. This is kind of a non-AFL thing here, but John Snyder, a guy that I got to coach at Palmerton as a freshman this week, was named honorable mention Centennial League Conference. So,
awesome.
Some guys doing some really good things at the next level. I'm going to add some more to that on our Facebook page because I know there's a lot of guys from the A9 playing at the next level that we want to give a little shout out to, because one of the great things about football is it gives you that opportunity to go to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the guys we were talking, Haven, Brian Murphy, is the quarterback at Lev Val.
Oh, okay.
And he is also a Haven graduate. You know, they went out to Ohio this year. They made the playoffs, and they ran into, it sounds like, a buzzsaw out there. They had a tough game. So, but a kid that, really I connect with is Ryan Richards. Albright, graduating, 4 years, played on the team down there. When we had a couple good years there back in, 08 and 09, he was the heart and soul of that defense. And, I was looking at Twitter the other night, and he said, man, he's so sad to see football, his playing days be over, and I'm sure Ryan, with the time and effort he put in, I'm sure football will stay in his life, as a coach at some point.
Fantastic kid as well. Fantastic kid, Ryan Richards, and congratulations, bud. All right, moving on. This week, boy, what an exciting matchup. Old Forge beats Southern Columbia. Old Forge, there's talk up there that this might be Old Forge's best team ever. And, watching them on Friday night, it's kind of hard to argue. Obviously, they're a super talented club. Old Forge right now, they have one loss this year. They lost at Dunmore during the season. We all know what kind of team Dunmore puts on the field every year. They avenged that loss in playoffs. They beat Southern Columbia. I mean, the road that they took to got here to get to this point is super impressive. On Haven's side, it's back at Blue Mountain. They got it like that. So this Friday night, here we go. Schuylkill Haven versus Old Forge at Blue Mountain. And Coach Davis, if you were not getting married on Friday night, boy, it'd be a great game for us to go to. But it is what it is. We'll have to get updates throughout the nuptials.
Yeah, we might have to, have someone hack our Twitter account Friday night. We'll see if we can get a volunteer there to keep everyone else involved.
The future Mrs. Davis won't mind, right?
Of course not.
Okay, just check.
Maybe we could get it streamed into the reception.
There you go.
Like the game, that'd be cool.
I can have the DJ just say, Schuylkill Haven 7-0. Just right in the middle of a song.
Yeah.
Like a remix.
Like right in the middle of your dance. Something like that, yeah.
And then go to like Gangman style.
What can go wrong?
But anyway.
Hey, by the way, before we go on, keep on that topic. A lot of feedback last week about your line about how the future Mrs. Davis, Erica Hoops Barron, is getting the best black Friday deal of her lifetime.
Yeah.
I got about 6 or 7 comments sent to me either on Facebook or via text. So that's a great line.
You know what bothers me a little bit? She didn't mention a word to me, which means she's not watching the show. She's not watching the
She's
show.
planning a wedding.
She is busy. She's at home planning a
And I
wedding.
didn't
You're
tell her.
filming a show.
I'm not going to tell her. We'll see how long it takes her to find this out.
I'll text her. Hang on.
So this
we
week,
got to talk about the game here.
we got to talk about the game, and this is going to be very interesting. And it's two teams that are, boy, just hard-hitting teams. I mean, the physicality in this game is going to really be something. And boy, it's something. It's a game we'd love to see. Hopefully, we're able to watch it on replay or something like that.
Yeah, this game could be over in like 2 hours because they're both running teams that grind it out. It's at Blue Mountain again, which is really nice for Haven. That's a nice little luxury. You get on that. It's that every other year thing where the one district is going to host it, and I'll tell you what, as far as film goes, there's not a whole lot of breakdown. Both teams just do what they do, and they do it well, and you just got to see who's the more physical team.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, last week I watched this game on TV, and Old Forge, they have some studs, just like Haven has studs. They have a tailback, Brandon Yaskavich, and I'm pretty sure they said on TV this is his first year playing. Now, I don't know if he took a break for a while or whatever, but he's a senior, 6'2", like 195.
Yeah, it looks like a tight end.
And I made a comment on Twitter when I was watching the game. This kid runs, I thought, like Adrian Peterson. He gets in the open field, and he just gets pumping. And, I mean, he broke 2 long ones against Southern, and
yeah, he had that one against Southern where he looked like he was going out of bounds. The Southern defense stopped, and next thing you know, 50 yards for touchdown.
And again, these kids performing like Casella and like you were talking about now. This is against Southern Columbia, against Bristol in state playoffs. I mean, boy, it's impressive.
And then they have the coach's son, and I forget the first name, but his last name's Schubeck, number 4. And he has a college body right now. He is put together. Kind of like Fink. I know Fink, Reckless Ryan, he's always showing the pipes off and the kids are all pumped up, Jungle. But this kid's put together. And, he plays tight end, then they'll put him back at a wing and they'll run like a little counter with him.
And on defense, he's a stud
defense,
too.
he's the middle linebacker.
Yep.
But, I mean, this is one of the things last week that stood out with Old Forge. They played Southern Columbia, and they stayed in a 4-man front defensively the entire game. They didn't change. They didn't go to a 5. They didn't go to 6. They just stayed in their 4-man front, which means they got a lot of confidence in what they do.
Yep.
And this game is going to be very, very interesting.
And their resiliency down the stretch I was impressed with because Southern Columbia converted that 4th down there. Out of the hair, the kid threw it up, and they came up with and it almost looked like Southern Columbia kids know how to win. They're going to win this one. And Old Forge came up with the big stop, in the shadow of their own end zone to win the game. And I'm looking forward to this game. This should be really good. The winner will play the winner of the Steelton High Spire versus Homer Center game. And some of these names, Steelton High Spire.
Homer Center, that doesn't sound like a public school to me.
No, it
Homer
sounds like.
No, indeed.
I never heard of it before.
You don't have to go on my charter school rant, do you?
No.
No, we don't need that. We don't.
We're going to keep this short tonight.
Yeah, but Pius and 10th out of Rosetto in District 11, they did play Steel High earlier in the year, and it was a very close game. It was a 1-touchdown game. Just to give you some frame of reference here with these two teams that you're looking at the other side of the bracket.
Yep. And on the other side of the state, we got Lakeview out of District 10, still alive. Clarion out of District 9. North Catholic out of District 7. And Tussey Mountain out of District 5. And out is Clareton this year. For they had like a 70-something game winning streak. They won the last two state titles, or three state titles. So there's a new sheriff in town this year, definitely.
Yeah, things are opening it up, and Haven's in the mix. And Haven's right in the mix, which means the AFL's in the mix, and District 11's in the mix, and we're pumped about that.
One of the things that stood out when I did a little bit of research on Old Forge, they lost to Dunmore week 4 this year, 21-16. That was the most points that they gave up this year.
Wow.
And then since then, Southern Columbia scored 14 last week. That was the second most.
Yeah.
So, I mean, their defense is tough, and it's going to come down to, I expect this to be a tight game. Big plays are obviously going to be, like you talked about Haven last week, and Casella just chunked them. 4 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards. And if they want to win, they're going to have to do that, take care of the ball. Haven fumbled the first play of the game. You can't do that this week.
Right.
You know, turnovers are going to be huge. Penalties are going to be huge.
The margin for error gets smaller and smaller every week as you get deeper and deeper into these playoffs. And you know what? A turnover here, a big special teams play there could certainly be the difference. And if we're talking about the outcome of the game, I think there's going to be one play either on with turnovers or special teams that could certainly swing the game one way or the other. But we're expecting an exciting game.
Absolutely. I'm not going to be so bold this week and give a prediction. I'm going to say it's going to be a 1 or 2 touchdown game. You know, and I don't know who's going to win. We're hoping for Haven.
Obviously.
We're A9 guys, obviously. We're hoping for Haven, but man, it should be a good one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one touchdown either way. I do. I think it's going to be one big play either way, one turnover, one special team play either way.
I agree. And we were talking before, and I hate to go back to it, but I shouldn't say hate to go back to it, but I think both of these teams kind of look at, if there's one team in the East that everybody wants to be like program-wise and single, it's probably Southern Columbia.
Yep.
Southern Columbia won 22 out of the last 23 district titles.
Yeah.
And Old Forge goes and they knock them off last week. And watching on TV, it looked like they won the state title. It's almost like
You got to wonder where their heads are at coming into
they
this
shocked
week.
the world. You know, they believed in it, but no one else did. And hey, they got to regroup this week because Haven, man, Haven's a little fired up right now.
Their
They're getting
coaching
rolling.
staff is all over that this week. They're telling them all you did was win a state, you know, whatever. What's the round before quarterfinal? All you did was win a state playoff game, and you didn't do nothing yet. You got to continue on. They're gonna get it.
And Old Forge is coming off of beating Dunmore, who was in the state finals last year, and then knocking off Southern Columbia, who was #1 in the state.
Yep.
And now they got to go down and basically play a home game against Schuylkill Haven.
Yep.
So I mean, Old Forge is probably the favorite based off of what they've done the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think everyone in the eastern half of the state is looking at them as the favorites. For us sitting here, we know Haven.
Sure.
And hey, let them think that and use that as motivation. But I mean, Haven, it's right there. It's right there for you. And whoever wins this one, man, you're in great shape.
You're in the Eastern Final.
You're in great shape.
I agree. I mean, you look at Haven. We said it once. Haven started getting healthy. They're hitting their stride. They are hitting their stride at the best possible time, and this is an awesome matchup. It really is. If you guys are heading to the game, McKeansburg. That's what I would go to get some wings beforehand. That would be my spot. So McKeansburg in. Hey, if you're looking for some wings before the game, it's a good place to go get the bite to eat.
They still do the traditional wings there where you break them apart, right? You get the drumstick and the wing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a full wing.
It's a big one too.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff. All right, so that's it for our 14th show. Hard to believe.
Yeah, they started out as a summer joke, and
Here we are.
Here we are. Yep, 1,000 Twitter followers, 250 on Facebook. This has been fun.
Let's start getting some action going this week. Send us some messages on Facebook or on Twitter. Where should people hit before the game? What are you expecting this week? And congratulations to Haven for practicing on Thanksgiving, one of their big preseason goals. There you go. Go get them, guys. Best of luck. That's it for Week 14. Clover Football out.